Overwatch is dead.
The game was amazing when it first launched back in 2017, but there are no new events since 2017. They tried to focus in their competitive scenario in 2018 that had a lot of drama and problems, and from 2019 until now, the game has been dead and Overwatch 2 won't save it. Boom, there it is. Now please keep giving me the views. Yes, I started the video by making a very sarcastic imitation of a lot of the State of Overwatch videos that you probably have already seen. And I want to be clear, I fully agree with those videos and I don't think CoW is a very good game. But why are there so many goddamn of those? The reason why I'm kinda upset about them as well, it is because I don't feel any of them actually talks about the problems I have with the game. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about competitive scene, I don't care about events, I care about good gameplay loops that are fun to revisit from time to time. However, the true reason why I am right here right now is that Overwatch 2 will be a free-to-play game, and from what I understand, the original game would be immediately updated to the sequel so that everyone can play together. First thing, this is cool, but I also got kinda mad because that meant that the original Overwatch would die. Like, literally be unplayable this time. It will literally die. This might not seem as important because the second game is so similar, but there are still important details in visuals and mechanics that I think will definitely separate the R1 and 2 experience, and I feel like the industry has a major problem with game preservation, and the people that may prefer the original game won't really have any choice. And the second thing, yeah, I'm going to have to make the Overwatch is bad video myself, so yeah, here it is. It's important to understand where Blizzard was coming from and their mindset when making the game. Through marketing and a lot of their design philosophy, it's clear that the studio wanted to make a very beginner-friendly competitive shooter, seeing how the market was a little toxic at that point. So a lot of decisions in Overwatch's game design were made to make the genre more accessible and intuitive to a lot of players, especially those who were not into FPS games, which was the majority of Blizzard's fanbase at the time. Those terms, if you are into any sort of competitive community, probably ring the bell to you. Especially because the idea of making a game beginner friendly resulted in some games losing depth and the whole appeal of their titles to be able to find a bigger audience. But I don't think that idea is entirely worthless. You can make games with low skill floors while still having a high skill ceiling. And for a moment, that seemed to be exactly what the studio accomplished back in the day. The game was a sensation, attracting a lot of people who were not into FPS games, selling very well, and winning tons of awards. But nowadays, the climate is different. The game has fallen from grace, not only through the many ways that you probably know, but also a lot of the game mechanics that attracted us in the first place later seem to be incredibly stupid and don't work really well in the long game. So let's talk about them. The two main issues of the game is the game feel and the unnamed counter system. Overwatch feels amazing. There's one thing that actually made me really happy playing this game this year after so much time, which is finally after 4 years or so of playing the game and 6 years on having a crush on her, I finally know how to play with Pharah. Pharah is one of the hardest characters to play in Overwatch because her whole shtick is being a living bomber. You fly high in the sky while dealing a lot of damage to your enemies with your bombs, and god does it feel good to play. It feels like you're playing something different. You're seeing the people fleeing from their lives trying to cover themselves while you just mount them and make your presence felt. There are still other three flying characters in the game, the living drone Echo and the fictitious MILF Mercy, but the way how each character flies feels so much different from each other. The third one is my Lucio, by the way. I'm saying about all this stuff because this is only one of 32 characters in Overwatch and all of them feels equally good to play. Obviously you're going to have your favorites, but generally with how much I played thus far, I feel like there's not one character in the game that I feel is boring to play or feels half-assed when you're succeeding with them. Everyone is so well realized while still being decently simple to understand, and Blizzard's ambitions of making everyone unique kinda paid off Almost every character in the game has some very unique itches that they scratch. Some genuinely feel like they're playing another game entirely, which makes it all the more easier for you to click with the game. But that, my friends, is being very overly positive about the game. So here am I, having fun, seeing how the enemy team can barely take care of me, but then their DPS player do something. They pick Soldier 76, and from being a justiciar of the skies, I go to licking boots. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Caesars to Soldiers Rock. You see, one of Overwatch's biggest features is the fact that you can change characters mid-match, something that to this day is still fairly unique. But you see, they didn't want to be just a cute gimmick for when you are bored. No. They wanted to have a competitive influence towards the game. So now every character in the game is either a rock, a paper, or a scissor. This first led to the previously mentioned fact that every character in the game feels unique because they were not made to be fair necessarily. They didn't need to preoccupy with making every character matchup fair, they could make everyone special. But consequently, it means that there are characters in the game that are naturally better than yours and will punish you for that. This, in a casual sense, was made to give you some agency in the match. A recent example, there was a Doomfist that was give us a lot of headache, but then I, a support player, picked Brigida, and even I, in my more passive class, I could still put Doomfist in check and make him much less impactful in the match. And that's cool. However, taking it back to my Pharaoh story, now that they have a soldier, I have to take so many considerations and positions to how am I going to dodge his shots that now I'm just underperforming in the match and the game is basically begging me to play with something else. I'm being punished for existing at that point. So now I am with another character, which although is still fun and maybe I can still win the fight, it feels off. It feels wrong. It feels like this counter system was the worst game mechanic I have ever seen in my life. I have not seen indie games making as bad of a mechanics as this one, and I played Hollow Knight. I don't want to say that there is a right way to make video games, but if you ask me, especially when it comes to action games, my favorites are the ones that gives you lots of interesting tools and choices, and basically let you do what you want to do with them. Discovering a new character in a fighting game, a new deck in a trading card game, seeing how each piece connects and what are your favorite tools to mess up with is fun because they put emphasis in your self-expression. That term to me is the most important part in an action game, in many other games as well. Give me lots of interesting decisions that allows me to express myself in your game. That is, to me personally, good game design. And Overwatch is against exactly that. You are not deciding anything in Overwatch. You are barely performing in Overwatch. You just have to throw paper at that rock. If you're a more experienced Overwatch player, you might be contesting this claim, because you still have a lot of other characters in the game that yes can counter that enemy, while still affecting your teammates and other enemies in interesting and engaging ways. And also, it's not like the game plays itself, mostly. And yes, that is true. To be fair, you don't see a lot of the professional Overwatch players rising to the highest competitive stage of the game with one character because of luck. But to a casual player, it's so frustrating. Why am I being punished for playing with the hot tall GF? Why do I have to play with other characters if I don't want to hear a slur from my teammates? Oh my god, that's right, the teammates! Overwatch is a 6v6 game with every two players separated by a different class. Tanks create space and disrupt the enemy front lines, damage dealers obviously deal a lot of pressure and ultimately get the eliminations, and healers sustain and support the team in slightly more passive ways. The reason why am I specifying and explaining this part so much is that would you believe me that your character pick can actually counter your own teammates and make you lose the match? We separate tanks and healers by two categories, main tanks and healers and off tanks and healers. Main tanks are the ones that can better disrupt the enemy, they usually have a couple of skills that can bypass defenses and control the flow of battle. They also rely a lot on shields, Main healers are the ones that are consistently healing damage that can heal a lot in a short amount of time. Off-tanks and healers are straight up DPS characters, but they can tank more damage and heal life respectively. Once again, first glance, great idea. It makes everyone unique, everyone has a different focus. And in a perfect world, every tank and healer would be an offensive one. But they aren't, oh god they aren't. Example, I just got a match in round 66, my favorite level in Overwatch actually, and I wanted to play with D.Va because I really like her and I feel like I'm rusty with her. So here I am already filling the role of the off-tank. But then, my tank friend picks Roadhog. Fuck! One of us has to change now. We don't have a main tank. Do you not know or don't like playing with the main tanks? Or better yet, you just wanted to have fun with an off-tank? Well, my friend, if they pick anyone that can spam damage from afar, you're going to have a bad time. So you can fuck yourself because now you're playing Reinhardt. Or else you are going to hear the Joker. Same thing with healers. Wanted to be Tony Hawking away the pain? Well, you better sit down and play Counter-Strike now because your friend picked Zenyatta. I must say this was even worse before Rogue Q came out and forced everyone to play with 2 tanks, 2 DPSs and 2 healers, because then basically everyone was a DPS, except you because you are dumb. And if you come close to me and say that Rogue Q was a bad idea, I am at your window. A lot of these previously mentioned decisions were made to reinforce Overwatch as a team competitive game, because every character is insufficient. They have some glaring weaknesses that are filled by your other teammates. You don't even need to change characters if a teammate of yours is already countering your counter. But this means that you have to rely your trust on the Joker. You see, I mentioned Roadhog and Zenyatta earlier, and although I get frustrated, can I blame them? They came into the game, the pick who they wanted to play first. Why should I judge him? Why should he stop having fun to serve us? But at the same time, why should I stop having fun to serve them? You may think that I'm thinking too competitively over quick play, but Overwatch kinda sucks if you haven't noticed, so I'm going to get frustrated even in pub matches. So much of the appeal of the game at first was about inclusivity, but the game has systems that actively incentivize and reinforce toxicity. A few other bullet points of the game include a very weird level design that was made in order to make every character kinda use the level differently, but in the end you kinda always play in the same choke points. The game has a bunch of crowd control abilities. By that I mean abilities that make you lose control of your character, which goes against all the focus of movement in the game. If half the cast can just stop your momentum and punish you for it. God, I hate Doomfist! Accentuated by the fact that Overwatch CTK is lightning fast. You blink, you die, reinforcing even more the idea of Blizzard stomping on your creativity, because you're not only countered, you generally probably will die in 2 shots if you don't have a healer by your side. And everybody already mentioned it, but ultimate abilities in this game are so busted. I fully understand the idea of having an ability that can break the match when things are too stale, but they are so hard to react and find around with, it's very obnoxious. So how do we fix Overwatch? Overwatch 2 seems to be going in a good direction. A lot of these problems I just mentioned seemingly being heavily decreased, and any levels and characters that they are presenting seems to be really fun. But in a major way, I don't think you can fix Overwatch. You know how I mentioned about Pharah and the game feel? Well, have you imagined how much the enemy team felt when they were fighting me? To know that every move, every action that you made was being interrupted by the Rocket Woman right there? And you can't do shit about it because your character was not made to fight her. You were not made to win against her. And half of the cast is just like Pharah. Half of the cast in this game sucks to play against, because they're not a challenge where you have to outsmart your opponent. It's a question of if you chose the rock to fight against the scissors. Come on! And the game will make everything it can to make sure that the paper loses to the scissor. And that feels great when you are given, but awful when you are receiving. For you to have fun in Overwatch, somebody else has to be suffering on it. And you may play this game to get those brain worms of victory. You may even play this game a lot to get those. But every defeat, every death feels so crushingly depressive, unmotivating, make you feel a genuine sense of despair and impotency I have never seen any other game in my life doing. And to fix that, to fix the game feel, the counter system to make it less dependable on jokers, means that Doomfist will have to die, and Genji, and Diva, and Zenyatta, and Brigitte, and Lucio, and Pharah, and at that point, you're not making a new game. You're making a new IP. So Overwatch for a few more months will continue to be this contradictory paradox of a game that's very fun but seemingly hates you and wants you to suffer. The moral of the video? I do know that low Bazaar saved me from my addiction and nervous breakdowns I was having with Overwatch in 2020. Yeah, probably go play Apex Legends, please.
Oh,